so often, I know this is true in the United States, people have this view of ministry that there are people that God calls into ministry, and then there's everybody else. You know, and if you're not a pastor or a missionary or whatever, a seminary professor, then you're not in ministry.
Can you imagine that?
And the fact of the matter is, God has called all of us to His work.
That's right, all of us.
You can't be called to faith without being called into ministry.
Called to faith, you're called into ministry.
Yeah.
So in other words, all of us are in full-time ministry.
Absolutely. And so it may be that the way that God has raised up for me to support myself is I work as a doctor or I work as an electrician, but I still have a ministry calling. I mean, think about this.
Yeah.
If I'm an electrician, I'm going to have opportunities to touch people that a pastor never would have.
Oh yeah, talk about that.
People who would never darken a door of a church. But maybe the way that I treat people is loving and kind, and they think, what is it about this person? What's different about this person?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I love, there's another passage that I think is so helpful to this conversation. It's 1 Peter 3, where it says, be ready to give a reason for the hope that is in you and do it with meekness and fear.
That's right.
Now think about this.
Yeah.
In this situation, the person needing evangelism is coming to the evangelist and saying, what makes you tick? You're different. I've seen things in you that are different.
Yeah.
You are such a loving and hopeful person. Explain to me that.
Yeah.
Now, that means this person has lived in a way that's different and attractive, so much so this person has to ask.
That's right.
So if you work at a restaurant, or again, you work in a factory, or wherever you are, you're supposed to live in a way.
That's right.
Another passage says you work in a way that makes the gospel attractive.
Talk about
I mean, there's passage after passage that talks about ministry, not in that formal way that people often think, but in everyday encounter sorts of ways.
Yeah, sure. And you know, looking at your country, I've been coming here a few times. I've realized that the gospel, the direct, upfront gospel, that preaching of the gospel is trying to be closed out. You know, you no longer can go to schools to preach, and you know, you're not supposed to evangelize to your neighbor. I feel that what we are talking about is how the Christian community has to reach the people, because now we have to share our faith by our life.
Well, I think you're right. I think the more formal religion is attacked, formal religion is reviled, the more necessary this kind of everyday living out the gospel, being that representative of God's justice, God's mercy, God's love, God's grace, is important.